Nothing but Somalians have caused a lot of trouble. They're ripping us off for a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of money going back to Somalia. What the hell are we paying money to Somalia for? But they're ripping off our country at a level that few people have been able to see before. That's about the only thing. You talk about competence. We have Ilhan Omar, who does nothing but complain about our country and our Constitution. And she comes from a country with practically no country. It's devastated, it's crime-ridden, it's a mess, it's a disgrace. And we took their people at tremendous. We're not taking their people anymore. We're not taking their people. And we're getting a lot of their people out because they're nothing but trouble.
Welcome, welcome. I am Dena, and you are tuned into another discussion with Dena.
Dozens of people of East African descent have been charged, convicted, and sentenced for stealing more than $1 billion in taxpayer money from government programs during COVID. As you know, Governor, that is more than Minnesota spends each year to run its Department of Corrections. So I want to give you a chance to respond to this. Do you take responsibility for failing to stop this fraud in your state?
Well, certainly I take responsibility for putting people in jail. Governors don't get to just talk theoretically. We have to solve problems. And I will note, it's not just Somalis. Minnesota is a generous state. Minnesota is a prosperous state, a well-run state. We're AAA bond rated, but that attracts criminals. Those people are going to jail. We're doing everything we can. But to demonize an entire community on the actions of a few, it's lazy. And as you heard Senator Kelly say, this president has cut a lot of inspector generals. He's cut programs that could help us tackle this on. So we'll take it on. We'll put folks in jail. I don't care what your nationality is. I don't care what your religion is, your color. If you're committing crimes, these are programs that were meant to serve students with autism, to housing, and to making sure people had enough to eat. There's a reason Minnesota ranks as the top lowest childhood poverty, best place for children to live. People are taking advantage of that. They're going to prison. That is totally disconnected with demonizing an entire group of people who came here fleeing civil war and created a vibrant community that makes Minnesota and this country better. But that's Donald Trump.
I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into his state.
Yeah, and in that same post you mentioned Tim Waltz, and you called him what many Americans do find an offensive word, retarded. Do you stand by that claim of calling Tim Waltz retarded?
Yeah, I think there's something wrong with him. Absolutely, sure.
If you don't
you have a problem with it? You know what? I think there's something wrong with him. Anybody that would do what he did, anybody that would allow those people into his state and pay billions of dollars out to Somalia. We give billions of dollars to Somalia. It's not even a country because it doesn't function like a country. It's got a name, but it doesn't function like a country. Yeah, there's something wrong with Waltz.
Governor Waltz asked you to release the MRI records.
Will you tell us what it was
Governor
for?
Waltz? You mean the incompetent Governor Waltz?
But when I watch what is happening in Minnesota, the land of 1,000 lakes, or however many lakes they have, they got a lot of lakes, but this beautiful place, and I see these people ripping it off, and now I'm understanding, and you're going to look at Tedesca, I hear they ripped off Somalians, ripped off that state for billions of dollars, billions, every year, billions of dollars, and they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country's no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I could say that about other countries, too. We don't want them the hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, They got nothing. You know, they came from paradise and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell and they complain and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much.
Here's what a lawmaker had to say about the fraud uncovered in Minnesota.
But what ends up happening is there is not this idea of a melting pot. There's a cloistering. There is a certain tribalism that has happened in Minnesota, as I referenced before in the mayoral election. And so when you have people here who stay in their group, who basically operate as almost like self-governing societies, that has had an impact on our state. And I won't say that all fraud have been perpetrated by Somalis. There's been plenty of cases where the fraudsters look like me or you. But because Minnesota, like I said before, constantly boasts about how generous our welfare programs are, that attracts a certain type of mindset. And over and over again, you're catering to a group that is, that wants the state to themselves.
One of the things I think that people who haven't been to Minnesota before, see or hear about the most is that Minneapolis has turned into, what do they call it, Little Mogadishu?
Sure. Yeah.
It has become, I believe it is the highest population of Somalis outside of Somalia in the entire world is in the state of Minnesota. Why is that?
Well, it goes back to what I said before, where when we talk about the benefits that our state has, the generosity that we have NGOs and nonprofits who facilitate a lot of that immigration stuff to come to Minnesota. And it was interesting. We just had a mayoral election 2 weeks ago in Minnesota between Jacob Fry and Omar Fateh. That was getting the same publicity, or near the publicity, that the New York City mayor's race was getting. And what's been uncovered since that mayoral election, and you see people...
Fry won.
Fry won. Yeah. It was close, but Fry won. And what's actually been uncovered by Democrats, as I follow them on X and you see the discourse between them, Jacob Fry actually leaned into a tribal war that was happening among, a Somali population in Minnesota.
Yeah.
And what was fascinating is you're sitting here going, what does that mean? Well, apparently there are different factions that we have now adopted in Minnesota that Jacob Fry leaned into, whatever divide there is. I don't know the specific economic or cultural or where you came from. If you're from Mogadishu and you're from Somaliland, I don't know the technicalities of it. But apparently Jacob Fry went full race realism, if you will, by leaning into some kind of tribal conflict and got a contingent of the Somali population that way.
Yeah.
Because Omar Fateh wasn't the right Somali.
He picked the Hutus over the Tutsi or whatever.
Yeah, whatever it is. I don't know. But it's not me saying it. It's Democrat activists saying it in Minnesota that, Jacob Fry leaned into the worst of us by going back to some historical warring faction to win his election.
It's just so goofy. Well, I've seen these clips of him too speaking Somali.
Yeah, speaking Somali, but then he'll speak Somali at one rally and then he'll get in booty shorts and go down to the gay pride parade right after that. It is this coalition of dysfunction that runs that city. And it was on display for the world to see in 2020 when that city burned to the ground.
I saw some statistic recently that something like, I want to say it was 50% of Somali men in particular are unemployed. And that's the thing that's interesting. Again, when you go to Target or you go to Starbucks, it's almost always the women that are out working, and it's almost none of I used to live in an apartment complex, and it was the men just lounging around at the pool all day while the women were working. It was very bizarre.
Yeah, I don't know how to explain it more than its policies which encourage refugee resettlement, its policies which encourage people to come from other states and other countries to specifically Minnesota, in some cases to take advantage in a legitimate way of the welfare system, and in some ways to take advantage in a dishonorable or an unlawful way. And we see the repercussions of that, not only like the cultural impact, but again, the economic impact of, we had an $18 billion surplus and took it to a $6 billion deficit. And meanwhile, our U.S. attorney basically said it's at least $2.5 billion worth of fraud. And unfortunately, you look around at what these fraud cases are, and a lot of it is food programs that are administered to the Somali community. It's autism centers, which are, again, catered to the Somali community. And it's an unfortunate circumstance that we find ourselves in. I would really draw the distinction. It's not blaming a group of people, but it is blaming what we're enabling.
It's blaming the system that we built.
That's right.
What do you think? Be sure to subscribe and share your thoughts and opinion on this topic of discussion. Who is to blame? Who should be held responsible? And how do we go about fixing this problem that seems to have become very common in immigrant or so-called refugee communities in America? Subscribe and leave me your comments. And join me next time for another discussion with Dena. Ta-ta!
This concludes the Daily Discussion with Dena. Join us Monday through Friday at 12:30 p.m. Like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment.